call the April 18th Airport Commission to order. Roll call.
Neil Johnson,
Here.
Greg Collier,
Here.
Andrew Barker, Joel Gardner,
Here.
Steve Smith,
Here.
Bill Schoonover,
Here.
Greg Willoughby.
Here.
Approval of minutes. We
Move we approve them.
have a move to approve. Any, a second?
I'll second them.
Motion second, we approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we got it all. So, I don't know if there's a lot to update the people who weren't here last week about, we didn't have a quorum, so we just met. Brainstorm session, nothing really, we didn't have any action, of course, on anything. And so do you have anything, James, that we discussed you'd like to pass along?
Last meeting? I mean,
We did talk about the roof, and it's supposed to be
starting Monday.
Monday, on the roof repairs, things of that nature. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting ready to do that. Comments from the audience. Anyone here would like to speak before the commission? If not, we'll have an update from Summit. Daniel.
Yep.
Good afternoon. There's not much as far as Summit in updating. Ran a few numbers a little while ago for February and March. For February, we were down about 5%. Last month, I talked about us being down, so that's the one basically the same as last month. In March, we're also down about 12% in total sales. But having said that, April is looking a lot better substantially than last year. We're still getting quite a few people in, actually on a daily basis. We had a decent sized group yesterday that came in looking for the restaurant, still no restaurant, but told them to keep checking in every week or so, and we let them know and that things are progressing with that. So they did like hearing that at least. And we, earlier this month, as y'all know, we've got a G450, a larger aircraft that tends to come in. Same tail number. They come in multiple times a month, so we're always expecting them. They were here for an extended stay at the beginning of the month. And I got a call last week about a G650. I think I said G650. G450 is the one that comes in. G650 is a very large aircraft. It's just right at the top of the range for what the runway is rated for as far as weight. We can take it, but just barely. So I got a hold of James, or one of my guys got a hold of James. We got some plates out that the street department uses. With the aircraft sitting on those plates, it's plenty strong enough, the ramp is, to hold that aircraft. So we weren't worried about that. Have not heard back from those pilots yet. Hoping they still choose Springdale to come into. I believe that's in relation to the Walmart shareholders event. Which I know is not until the beginning of May, but the pilots did talk about coming in this week. Haven't heard anything. So I was actually going to ask James if we could keep those plates around a little bit longer, just to be ready for them.
Yep.
And then the last thing I have is that I know that the roof is going to be redone starting next Monday, and Jeff Mann told me that where he was wanting to kind of place some of the equipment while they're working, which is in some of our rental spots. So just updating that I'm going to I have updated the rental agencies that their spots that they normally park in will be taken, and I've directed them to a portion of the main parking lot that they can use that's still a little bit out of the way, and they're fine with that. There's no qualms about that. But unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Operations report, James.
According to our hangar list, we are still 100% full. We've had a few people that's moved. Other than that, but we've gone through our list and we keep them full. So we're still 100% occupancy. Bill reached out to our late renters and left messages with some of those people. So we're staying on top of that with city attorney's help. So the only major one that I've seen is, our previous restaurant owner still hadn't paid their rent like they said they was going to. So I said, Sarah, just take care of it, because we've called them,
Heard about it already.
we called them 3 or 4 times, and they said, oh yeah, we're gonna pay. I told Bill, don't worry about calling them again, so just a waste of phone calls. So I asked Sarah to take care of that.
That reflect how many months behind they were when they left.
I think it was December when they left. So I think December 1 was their last day, or November. So you gotta go from December, January, February, March, April now. They're supposed to pay it.
Their contract terminated.
It was terminated then.
Okay.
But that's, what is that, 4 months past?
Right, 4 or 5 months past.
Okay. So we're trying to collect it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Sarah's gonna be sending them a certified letter.
Anybody know where they're at?
Huntsville.
Are they running a restaurant there or?
No, they're, from what they told me, they're doing food trucks.
or
So they're
did-
just traveling.
Okay. Questions?
Have we still got a waiting list? I mean, we're 100% full, we still have people waiting.
Yeah, we have almost 30 names waiting. I think we're a little under 30 now, but still pretty close.
Activity report, Wyman?
Got the fuel sales and the operations report and the income statement. The income statement, it reflects we're still doing good right now. We've caught up on our grant payments. We've now have possession of all 3 houses on Emma Street, and we've got an estimate for asbestos survey and got that scheduled to go. And once we get the asbestos survey, then we'll get some estimates to demo the 3 houses and clear the property.
Do we have, you think if we can get that cleared of asbestos, we could, speak to the fire department to get their participation in maybe burning those things? I talked to Assistant Chief the other day, and he didn't slam the door on it.
Have to talk to them and see, they're pretty close to Emma Street. There's not much yard in front of them, so it might be too dangerous too close to the street to try to burn.
Okay? Just a thought. We have, interest in the airport restaurant, James?
Yes, Jeff Mann submitted his proposal to open the restaurant up and hire the young lady that was originally wanting to participate, but she didn't have the startup fund, so he submitted a proposal for a contract for the restaurant.
Also, to go along with that, James can speak to you better to it, but we have purchased most all equipment it needs for the restaurant. Could you talk about the totals and where we got it?
Yeah, it's Bill Adams who bought the original restaurant from us. He bought the Grove in Rogers, and now he set up that new place on 71 in Lowell. So he had extra restaurant equipment, so I reached out to him. And for $6,000, roughly somewhere in there, he's gonna fully stock the kitchen and table and chairs with some small essentials to go with it, so that once he's done for $6,000, we're gonna have a fully stocked restaurant.
In addition to what we'd already purchased.
Correct.
Do you have a total on our expenditures to date?
Well, we haven't spent anything yet. I think his is like 6,000, so we're talking 9,500. We're 3,500 in.
When you say fully stocked, what does that mean?
The kitchen with
Pots, pans,
all the small utensils, plates, table and chairs, things of that nature. Yeah,
Benahood's all done, right?
correct.
Are they gonna need a burner stove in there?
Yeah, that's coming as well.
That coming in with that? Okay,
Triple sink.
okay. Should be functional then.
So we talked to him this morning. He's supposed to start moving stuff in Monday.
What's his desired opening date?
I don't remember what it was. He wants to do 2 soft openings. So,
He wants a 5-year agreement, was that it?
I told him as long as he matched didn't break the contract, then he'd have it for as long as he needed it.
Any questions? I think that's certainly better than what we've been talking about.
Have we amended our contract regarding maybe either some clear expectations or wasn't there some discussion about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember more of the discussion than our actions, but I understand we'll be putting in the contract a specific time of operations, and if, the way I understand it, if it's changed, they have to come back before us to get permission to change
Is
it.
that in here?
Put in there that their proposal is attached to the contract, and if they don't comply with their proposal,
That becomes a,
that's a default in the
So he
contract.
says 6 to 2, Monday through Saturday. So if he does anything other than that right there, he has to come back before y'all to change it.
He does
Anything
less than
less.
that.
Yes, right.
Okay.
that is something. So,
What kind of sign are we gonna provide them? On the,
Exterior on the ramp side?
On the ramp side, right. What kind of sign are we gonna?
He has to put his proposal together and come see you. That's what I told him. Because we don't know yet, name and everything like that.
Well, it just says like the summit sign, so same size or just?
No, I told him that that would all be approved through y'all once he put together what he wants.
Well, of course, he's gonna have to go through the city ordinance,
Correct. Sign ordinance.
so.
And when he says, when he says in his letter that he would require a sign like that, he's not requiring us to provide that sign. He's going,
Do it his,
space necessary.
right.
Allow it.
Allow him to put one up.
Any other questions on the restaurant? We're gonna have to renegotiate the, or we're gonna have to have a new contract for the hangars down
The
on the
motion
south.
to,
Huh?
I think we need a motion to approve the
Right.
contract on the restaurant.
So we will need a motion to approve the new contract on that. And it's basically an extension. You want to elaborate on the bullet points of it, Wyman?
I think we need to approve the restaurant lease.
Oh, on the restaurant lease. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were waiting on his proposal to come in.
Didn't they?
Here,
All right. Pardon me.
I think we need to spend a little time on that.
That's, I hadn't read it at all.
page 21, I think.
Yes.
Can you brief us, James, on anything that might be problematic in it or otherwise?
I mean, like I said, his openings would be, Monday through Saturday, 6 to 2. Other than that, everything else looked good, other than, he's asking for a 5-year lease versus our 1 year and then month to month after that.
Never had any problem with the contract, other than the fact that we didn't have any control over the opening times. Is that not right?
Right.
Feel like we've got that covered.
I'd like to see the actual contract. Do we have a copy of that contract?
Had it in the packet several months ago, but.
That was before any of the changes that were
No,
made.
we had one in there after we changed it. And we had a paragraph inserted that said their proposal would become a part of the contract. And if they failed to meet what they put in their proposal, it was considered a default in the contract. And then you could take action if you decided to.
I'm beginning to remember that now. And it was basically hinged on the hours of operation.
Right, it said their proposal would be a minimum. They could operate more than that if they chose, but if they wanted to go below that, they'd come back to the commission.
Do I hear a motion?
I have a
Make the motion.
question before, if you don't mind. It says up here, he's also gonna apply for a liquor license. Is that in stone? Is he gonna do that, or is he, if he's 6 to 2, is his hours potentially? I don't have a problem with it. I'm just wondering, is that, if he's gonna do that, I would think he might wanna extend his hours a little more than.
And he may eventually, after he gets business built back up.
I don't think he's saying that he would not eventually stay past 2, Greg. I think he's saying initially that's where he's gonna be. That warning about the liquor licenses, I read that, I was assuming that as business grew and if he decided to go into evening hours or to supper, it's hard for me to imagine somebody coming there and having a beer with breakfast.
That's not hard to imagine.
Really hard for me to imagine. But anyway, you know,
Keep
but
it Irish.
noon meals, you know, somebody may want alcohol with their noon meal.
I was just curious, that was in there, if he was definitely gonna get that?
He said he was. So, because he asked if the previous tenant had liquor, and I said the last 2 have. Right.
So basically, our standard contract plus this proposal becomes the new contract that we'll be voting on today. Is that right?
Becomes a minimum. It becomes a minimum. He's got to be open at least the hours he put in the proposal. He can go beyond that if he wants to without our permission, but he can't go less.
You just can't back off of it.
Is there any language in there about posting hours of operation?
That, yeah, we put in there that he must be open for the hours that he posted.
Which are 6 to 2, Monday through Saturday. That's gonna be posted, and he has to be there. That was our biggest problem last time.
Right, nobody was there when they're supposed to be.
Got a motion?
Do I hear a second? Any more discussion?
What is it?
To approve.
Motion to approve? Here's a second. Got a second? Roll call?
Johnson?
Yes.
Collier?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Smith? Schoonover?
Yes.
Willoughby?
Yes.
The new contract that we're talking about for the hangars is an extension, basically, plus a small amount of land in addition to.
Originally, when he came to us 2 years ago, he was planning on building 2 buildings, large corporate hangar and then a smaller one, or another building with smaller hangars in it. We since changed engineers and changed the design to increase the size of the hangars. Now it requires 3 buildings instead of 2 and requires more footage. So I've drafted a lease to replace the old lease that would add the additional footage and increase the land lease. And we would still get the 2 smaller hangar buildings in 30 years and large one in 40. And those dates did not change. So he won't have a full 30 years of use on it because he's waited 2 years to start.
Sorry. This is the guy that came to us a year ago, roughly?
2 years
2
ago.
2 years ago.
Right.
They have started dirt work, that's
Have it.
it.
He's poured pad. He has a
They
concrete
actually
pad.
started building on land he didn't have leased. That's why this has been amended, to cover the land where he is.
Building the 2 smaller hangars
There
first.
shouldn't be an objection because we're actually leasing more land unless it would mess up something for future use as far as size. Is that, and it doesn't seem to do that.
No, because it just takes it closer to a drainage ditch with land which unusable without major drainage anyway.
Best suited for him. Any questions? And I will pass this on, that I got a call from the bank that's financing it, and it seems to be, there may be still a little delay before they actually get construction going, but it seems to be on track. I think Wyman talked to them also. That seems to be the case. So that tells us where we're at, where they're at in the construction phase of it.
We know, what was his holdup before? What held him up for 2 years?
Permitting was part of it, I think, from the city.
Big part of it.
Design and permitting.
Water flow.
Did we ever get that resolved about that hard surface down behind those hangars?
At the point,
There was an issue at one point that we were gonna have to hard surface behind.
we're still planning to do that.
I never did know how that came out.
That, there's a street right-of-way back through there, or a right-of-way, and we're gonna pave that. The fire department will require that to get the fire truck in there if they need to.
Between these hangars and that church,
We have that access drive that we're gonna pave.
do I hear a motion to okay the new contract that will reflect these changes we talked about? It says basically the dates, extended the dates of the construction phase of it, plus additional land.
Does not lengthen the term of the leases.
Does not.
It does not, they remain intact.
Yeah, he's been leasing.
does the monthly
His
rate
time's
go
been
up?
running since the
Pardon?
last.
Monthly rate going up? Okay.
Does.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion made to approve. Here a second.
I'll second it.
Motion second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Collier,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Schoonover,
Yes.
Willoughby,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Adam, what do you have for us today as Garver?
Just a couple quick status updates. The runway rehab FAA project, the only outstanding item there from last month was the installation of the lights that we amended into the grant. Those came in and were installed about 2 weeks ago. Checked them on the way in. Everything was lighted and working. We did have our observer who was on site go look at some of the restoration areas over by the vault and some of the trenches, and there is some erosion and some spots that just the seed didn't come through very well. And so we sent the contractor some pictures and asked him to get those cleaned up so we can make final payment to him and get that closed out. My best guess is with the rain next week, it's probably 2 weeks out before they can get in and get that cleaned up and get it reseeded. And so probably looking at closing out the grant in the May timeframe, and we'll apply for your 10% ADA match, which will be about $200,000, and you'll get that reimbursement in June from the state for your 10% match. Any questions on that one? Okay. Other one is the concrete apron paving project. That's your 90-10 state grant that you got a couple months ago and that you approved our contract last month for. We've been looking at alternatives and orientation of that. James actually had an idea of, instead of doing it within the existing apron limits, trying to do it just outside your existing apron limits so you actually gain apron space. So I'm going to chat with him a little bit after this meeting, Daniel, and talk through what that could look like. And we'll see if that makes sense. And if so, we'll put the plans together for that and get it out to bid in the next few weeks.
By not having to take the asphalt up in the existing location, would that potentially decrease the cost of the construction?
Probably not much because you're either digging up asphalt or digging up dirt, and it's not a huge cost savings, yeah. Maybe be a little more expensive to go into dirt. So hopefully there's some good material on the asphalt. We know there's not any good material in the dirt from experience. All right. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. We've already talked about the terminal roof repair. Any old business? Comments from commissioners? And then we'll adjourn.